Hi everyone, today I thought I would talk about my favorite books ever. I am a really picky person with books because I struggle with focusing and finding books I actually really enjoy because I am just really difficult to please when it comes to I guess fictional books because for some reason I could pick up a history book and read it, but when it comes to fiction, I just can't focus. I have a learning disability, so that could probably be it as well, but it's really hard for me to stay focused and actually be intrigued in a topic. So the books I'm showing today are basically my favorite books ever, and I'll talk about why. So let's get into it. First of all, The Resurrectionist. This book, the lost work of Dr. Spencer Black. It's written like a biography, and it talks about the life of Dr. Spencer Black, a complete madman who was just putting animals together with people and seeing how they would look. Obviously, the cover is a skeleton of a harpy. The book has lots of illustrations on different animals put together, like a dog with wings or a deer and a person. There's a lot more crazy things in it, but it just explains the life of him growing up as a grave robber and then becoming a doctor and then slowly losing his sanity and becoming a madman and just his life story and everything. It's just really crazy, and I really, really enjoyed it. And of course, there's illustrations in it, which makes it even better to read. It takes place in the 1800s, early 1900s, and it's pretty cool. Next up, we got The Girls Are Also Nice Here. I really loved this book. So I was going through a rough patch of trying to find books to read. I'm not even joking. I got I would say 10 different books, if not more, in my collection, and I was looking through them, and I'd open the book and I was like, I can't focus, I can't understand it. It's really hard for me to read because I will open the book, try to read it, and then I have no clue what's going on. Literally, you know this saying, one ear out the other, because people can't listen? That's me with reading. I'll read the words and I don't pick up any of it. None of it makes any sense to me, and it's really frustrating. But I opened this book, and from the first page I was like, I could focus. This is great. So I read the whole thing and was really happy with the way it ended. I really love this. This would make a really good series. It's just so shocking how every little detail matters, and you don't even notice it until the very end when there's that huge twist and you're like, oh wow, everything makes sense now. It's just crazy. It's all the foreshadowing is there, and then it just comes together really perfectly in the end. It's just so good. It's the perfect revenge karma type of story. Love it. Next up, I have Winter Girls because I love reading sad stories. So basically, I do have mental health issues. So sometimes I like to read books where other characters also have mental health issues. And I really liked how this was written because it was really detailed, but also I felt emotion for the character. There's a lot of times where I open a book and I have no emotion for the character at all. I genuinely do not care about them. But then I opened this book and I was like, oh, I really enjoy this. It just felt really, I guess, immersive. I felt like I could actually be in the book. It was pretty fun to read. I also found it very relatable, so of course, really liked that. And of course, I have to include nostalgia. So, when I was 14, I picked up the books Girls Under Pressure and Girls Out Late at I think a church sale or a library sale, and I think I got them for free because the library or the church was like, just take it, just go. And I was like, okay. And I remember when I was 14, I read them and I was like, wow, I really like this. They're really, really nice. So it wasn't until maybe 5 years later when I finally got the other two in the series, and I reread them, I think, on vacation, and I really, really had fun with them. Are they the most great books ever in my collection? No. But they are very, very, sentimental to me because I find them very, nostalgic to read. I read these books and I feel like I'm at home. I'm never going to get rid of these because I just really, really love them. Some of the books, a little bit of it could be, problematic, inaccurate, maybe sometimes, but I still love them. And for the time the books were written in, I think they did an okay job. I really like it. A lot of people are mad at these books. They think it's not good for kids to read or whatever. I thought it was okay. They're really good books for, I'd say, young teenagers. I'd say it's pretty relatable. You know, when you're a teenager, you go through a lot of phases and also friend problems, maybe relationship issues. Like, you're growing up. So I found these really, really nice. And the last book made me cry because it's like, oh, it's over. The story's over. It just, yeah. I love these books though. Moving on, I have the book Monkey Taming. So this book also discusses mental health problems, but I thought the way it was written was just like really, really nice. However, I only read the first, I think, 50 pages because after that, I did not care anymore. Now, that's not the author's fault, that's just a me problem because the character goes into like recovery or whatever. I don't like reading that stuff because I can't relate to it. So I read the parts that are really sad because I relate to the sad parts. So obviously some of the parts in this book I don't relate to at all because it was really, really intense and sad, but for the most part, like, the book was immersive until I stopped reading it because it was no longer immersive. But yeah, it was pretty, really, really nicely written, and I love books that have a really good way of writing because I can't really focus. So when it's really detailed and still easy to read, I love that. Because when books are overly detailed, I can't really focus, but if they're not detailed enough, I'm bored. So I need to find that like right balance of where it's like written really well and I could still focus. So this really helped. Next up I have the poetry book Letters from a Dead Girl by Kat Savage. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but this book makes me cry. It's just the poetry of it. I'm just like, a lot of the stories that are in it, I have no like relatability to because it's mainly just like relationship drama, you know? Because the whole point is that like when you are breaking up with somebody, like it's so sad because you're not like deceased. You're still alive, but you guys treat each other like these aren't alive anymore. Like you just move on and find new people. It's weird, you know? And I read it and I was like just crying. I don't know why. Like I don't it's just so it's really weird. I like it though. It's a really good story. Really good poetry book. Next up, we have one of my top 10 favorites of all time. We got Gossip of the Starlings. I love this book. I really do think that if you want to find a good book, you can't find it. You have to let it come to you. Because this book, I was in Barnes & Noble walking around in a section that would not have been for this book. And it was just laying there because somebody threw it there and didn't put it back in the right spot. And I was like, wow, what is this? And I picked it up and I was like, this sounds so interesting. It's a boarding school. It's a boarding school book with drama between girls. Sounds great. Love it. I read like the first page or two and was like, wow, this is great, you know? It's my favorite book, I think, out of all of the books I'm going to show today because this book is probably the best thing I've ever read. Like, the writing is just so beautiful and it's so intriguing. It's just so perfect the way it was written. It just really just hits you right in the heart. Like, it's just so good. Like, the drama, the plot twists, like, it's so perfectly written. I love it so much. The Girls Are All So Nice here was really good as well. I didn't even find that book on purpose. Like, it was an accident. You know, I was in a library out of town and I saw it on a table and was like, wow, I like that. But I couldn't bring it with me because I was out of town, obviously, and I couldn't return it if I took it, obviously. So I ended up getting it like a year later or two, I think, and then I read it and I really liked it. So yeah, but this book, if you are into boarding schools and drama between girls and drama between just boarding school problems or whatever, this is great. And there's horses. I've always loved that idea of going to a boarding school where there's horses. When I shop for books that are fictional, the first things I look for are boarding schools because like boarding school dramas, they're always like really great in my opinion. But not always though, because I got Harry Potter and I couldn't read that. I also got the book series Private, couldn't read that. It's such a struggle when you can't focus and when you can't comprehend anything. But this Gossip of the Starlings, it's perfect. Like, you're able to read it. It's so, like, stunning. It really, really is. If I could meet the author, I would get this book signed. I love this book. Like, since reading this book, though, my standard for other books have gone up. Like, I keep telling myself now, like, I shouldn't have read this book, because now that I've read it, I can't help but compare every other book to it, because this book is so good. Next up, I have The Stone Girl. I was not going to keep this book because I don't really have the space. However, I ended up keeping it because I liked the way the author went about the book. This book also is third person, and I cannot read third person. However, with this, I was able to focus. Like, I was reading it thinking, oh, I could focus in this book for once. Like, I can never read third person books. So the fact that this book was able to really capture my attention, I was like, they did something good here. So I kept it, obviously. But that is all for the books today. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!